Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at how a surprisingly simple drawing can completely revolutionize how you organize, memorize, and even teach complex information. We are taking something as familiar as the human body and turning it into a highly structured visual system for learning and planning. So let's dive in and see how just a few lines on a page can literally build a dynamic knowledge architecture.
I know, it sounds like a massive claim, right? But I really want you to keep this provocative question in the back of your mind as we peel back the layers of a truly fascinating visual tool. It's called the 3x3 Zoomable Fractal Grid. At first glance, you might think, okay, it's just a basic chart, but it's actually a blueprint. It's a way to structure information so that it perfectly matches how our brains naturally want to work.
Section 1. The 3x3 Body Grid, a visual foundation.
Notice how the whole thing, the torso or the body, sits right in the center. It acts as an anchor, visually emphasized with a heavier boundary and a gray background. And around it, the constituent parts are arranged spatially to directly mirror actual human anatomy. You've got the head at the top center, ears in the upper corners, arms out on the sides, waist below the torso, and legs down in the bottom corners. It's not a random list at all. It's a spatial pattern that actually resembles a person.
So here is the absolutely crucial point. This is not just a static classification table. The position itself becomes information. You're combining a word, an image, a position, and a relationship all at the exact same time. And let me tell you, that is a massive upgrade for your memory. This really brilliantly illustrates the core difference between just listing out disconnected facts and creating a dynamic, multi-level knowledge architecture. Think about it. A standard diagram basically just points and says, here are the parts. But a zoomable fractal grid, it says, here are the parts, and every single part can become the center of another structured universe. It's recursive. It's totally expandable.
Section 2. The power of zooming. A nested universe.
Imagine looking at that center grid and mentally clicking on a cell to watch it expand. You start at the main body, then you zoom into the head cell, and suddenly it opens up into an entirely new 3x3 grid. The center is now the head, surrounded by hair, forehead, ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. Then, say you click on the eye. Boom, another grid opens, breaking down into the cornea, iris, pupil, lens, retina, and optic nerve. Click the retina, and you're down to the cellular level. You are progressing from the whole body all the way down to molecules, but you're using the exact same 9-box spatial language every single time. This zooming capability means the grid maps perfectly onto what we call PATA-style human computational thinking. PATA stands for pattern recognition, abstraction, decomposition, and algorithmic thinking. By using this grid, you instantly recognize bilateral patterns, like ear to ear. You practice abstraction by taking a highly complex biological organism and simplifying it down into just 9 manageable cells. You decompose the whole body into functional parts. And finally, it allows for algorithmic thinking. For example, a medical student could use this exact spatial path to sequence a physical exam, moving logically from head to toe. It literally turns biological study into a rigorous cognitive workout with no gym required. Section 3. Your Body Memory Palace. Spatial storage. Because the grid gives us 9 totally stable spatial addresses, you can convert pretty much any abstract information into a visual spatial retrieval structure. Instead of trying to memorize a disconnected list, you just mentally walk through the body. You go from the top left ear, to the head, to the right ear, down to the arms, the center torso, and finally the legs. You have essentially turned your own mental image of a body into a filing cabinet with 9 distinct drawers. And this brilliantly illustrates how you can mentally scan your own body to retrieve your daily to-do list. You're turning anatomy into a task organizer. Need to prepare for a meeting? Pin that thought right to your head. Need to call John? Pin it to your left ear. Picking up a package? Well, that's heavy, so pin it to your left arm. Getting your car serviced? Pin it to your lead, which handles transport. When you need to remember what you have to do today, you don't even look for a piece of paper. You just mentally scan down your body, and the tasks naturally retrieve themselves based on location.
Section 4. The Show Framework. Cross-domain utility.
The grid becomes this incredibly reusable cognitive interface across school, home, outdoors, and work, what the source material calls the show framework. At home, it could be a checklist for a kid's morning routine. Outdoors, a safety check for hikers. But let's look at school for a second. There's actually an active debate in educational circles about this exact approach. Proponents argue that using this fractal grid method massively improves student learning by building a deep spatial cognitive map. Critics, on the other hand, argue that forcing a student to learn a metasystem just to remember where their elbow is might unnecessarily complicate simple anatomical studies. Now, we aren't taking a side on that debate today, but both perspectives really highlight just how transformative this tool can be, depending entirely on how it's deployed.
And when we look at the work domain, the combinatorial possibilities are just enormous. In healthcare, patients can use a digital version of this grid to precisely locate and report pain. In occupational safety, companies can build visual dashboards tracking injury hotspots. In product design, engineers mapping out wearable technology know exactly where the AR headset, the smart shirt, or the movement sensor fits into the whole. It even works for robotics, acting as a conceptual architecture for machine anatomy, literally swapping out human parts for sensors, manipulators, and essential chassis. It transfers seamlessly from a child's kindergarten vocabulary lesson all the way to a roboticist's blueprint.
Section 5. Beyond Human Anatomy. Universal Structures.
This is the ultimate takeaway here. A body has parts, sure, but so does a school, a company, a project, a machine, a business strategy, or even a messy problem you are trying to solve. They all have parts that can be organized, navigated, and zoomed into using this exact same spatial language. The 3x3 Zoomable Fractal Grid provides a common visual language for turning really complex wholes into memorable, actionable systems of parts.
It's a remarkably simple idea, but with staggering potential. So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. What messy, disconnected part of your life will you put into a 3x3 fractal grid today? Whether you use it to enhance your learning, plan your daily tasks, or organize a massive work project, the structure is ready for you to build upon. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and happy organizing.